Okay everyone, hello and welcome to Soundation Lesson 2. So today we're going to be focusing on Midi and creating a chord sequence to the song that we are effectively creating, okay? So if you've turned on this video and you're still getting the hang of putting audio files together, structuring your song, getting ideas of how that works, then I would still spend some time on that, and when you feel ready, come in to use the MIDI file section for your piece, because it is slightly different. It takes a little bit more musical knowledge, however, it will push you a bit further, and also, to be honest with you, it will give you more individuality with your songs, as these MIDI files and these sounds you create, you can completely do yourself. Okay, so let's load up Soundation. So at this stage, we should all be able to get onto Soundation to the page that I'm currently on, which is Soundation Studio. Now what you can see here is what I've created this morning, just a simple 4-bar repeated pattern that sounds like this. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice, probably looking at the screen, that is different is in this top track here, is that it does not look the same as the two underneath. Well, the two underneath are our audio files, so we're still using audio files while we're creating our MIDI files. So we're still going to use audio for the drums, and to be honest, we might still use it for bass and different instruments. It depends really what works best for your song. Some people might think, do you know what, actually, I prefer all audio. Some people might say, actually, I prefer all MIDI. Okay, it's completely your call. But what I would suggest as a starting point, if you're new to this kind of software, is to go with your MIDI being your chord sequence, and then you add in the audio for your drums and your bass and maybe other instruments that are in the same key. So, as in lesson 1, I'm creating a lo-fi hip-hop kind of sound, okay? So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is how we create the MIDI files. So if I open up my untitled song here on the next tab, what you'll see is I've got the same things again. I've got audio channel 1, audio channel 2, simple synth, but there's nothing at the moment in any of these. So the first thing I want to do is grab this and stretch it out to 4 bars. So that means we've got 4 bars here of music, okay? So what you want to do is, this is at the top, this is our MIDI channel. So to add a MIDI channel, you go on Add Channel, Instrument Channel, and you get effectively what is our MIDI channel. So I'm just going to delete that one for now because I did it earlier. Okay. When you click here, it says Simple Synth. You will see here that there are a list of different things. You've got Simple Synth, Mono Synth, Super Saw, etc., etc., etc. For me personally, I mean, please by all means feel free to experiment with these. At the end of the day, it's your piece of music and it's what you think sounds best. But I personally go for VA Synth and FM Synth to get my sounds. So for now, I'm going to click on FM Synth, and then suddenly this window pops up. Now this window, when it pops up, just trying to get rid of that, there we go. When this window pops up, it's got a lot of information there. Now I do not expect you to understand what all of this means. To put it into simple terms, when you create electronic music, the sounds that you create pass through things known as envelopes, and you can alter the pitch, the frequency, and the envelope shapes the actual sound of the MIDI that you create. Now that is very complicated stuff. It can go into ridiculous depth that I think for now we should be avoiding. Okay, so at the top right it says presets. If you click in presets, you'll see that it's listing instruments. You've got brass 1, 2, 3, strings, etc., 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 etc. Okay. So if I click on electric organ, because I'm doing the lo-fi sound, that will give me a nice electronic organ sound. Okay, so now to bring up our MIDI tracks, you double click with your left clicker in there, and this box will show up. Now, this box is only going up to 2. To make it so that it goes to 4, you want to go to the bottom right, click, and drag it over. Okay. If you want to make it less, you do the exact same thing. If you go with the top right corner, you'll notice that these lines appear. Now what that means is whatever you input here is just going to be repeated in each box. So you don't want to do that. Okay? You want to go to the bottom right, click there, drag it out to the bottom 4 there. So now I'm going to put up on the screen here, we've got our major and minor chords, okay? So here we go. Just to explain this. So you've got your major and minor chord progressions. So if you're sat there thinking, I have no idea what chord progressions to create, what's going to sound right, and so on and so forth, then this is going to be available to you in Google Classroom in your class, okay? Oh, ignore the coffee club mentioning. So you've got major chords and minor chord progressions, okay? If most songs, okay, not every song, but most songs follow either one of two patterns. They either follow the 1-5-6-4 or the 1-4-5. Now what you can see here, where my cursor is you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Underneath, you can see it says that they're either major, minor, minor, major, etc., etc., okay, and finally diminished. But I wouldn't worry about 7 and diminished at this moment in time. So what I want to tell you about this section here that is important is that every chord progression has major and minor chords in there, okay? In theory, if you decided to go from chord 1 to chord 3 to chord 6 to chord 2, in theory it works, but to our ears, we are more commonly associate music with 1-4-5 or 1-5-6-4. So 1-5-6-4 would be, if it was in the key of A, as you can see under here, your chords would be A major, E major, F sharp minor, and D major, okay? If we're doing it in C, which is what I'm actually using for today, your major would be C, your first chord would be C, your second chord, which is chord 5, would be G, then your next chord would be chord 6, which is A, but it's A minor, which we'll get to later and how that works, and then major here for the 4 is F. You could also do 1-4-5, which would just be C, F, and G. Those are the two main chord progressions, and it is the same if you use minor chords. So minor chords is exactly the same. The big difference here that you'll see is a couple of things have changed, okay? So for example, your minor chord here, if it's C, your diminished chord is actually your second chord, okay? And the major and minor order has actually changed between the two. But the good thing is, for most pop music, okay, especially electronic music that we are looking at the moment in lessons, you're mainly focusing on your major chords. If you want to have a play around with minor, please feel free to. As I say, these will be available on Google Classroom. But for now, what I'm going to create is the major chord progression of C, G, A minor, and F, okay? So how we do that is, we've got this clip. Now, if you click there, you'll see that we're getting sound, okay? To create our length, okay, first thing is I'm going to actually extend this window if it allows me to. There we go. So, and I'm going to also zoom out in this bottom left so that I can see. Now, this section here, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll see that the rest of it's black. Basically, this section here means that none of that is going to be in this section. It's going to be in this bit here. So you want one chord to fill one box, okay? So you would have C, G, A minor, F. And the way we're going to do that is this. You double click and you get a note, okay? Now, if I play that back, you will hear that note. Again, okay? So you want to drag it so that it gets to the end of the first grid box, okay? Now, what I do to speed this up, if I'm on a Mac, is I press the Option button and then I can copy that exact same note to the next bit. Now, I know that the C chord is C, E, and then G. If you want to know what each chord's notes are, I would go onto Google and I would type in C major chord on piano or on keyboard, and it will show you exactly how they work. So for example, C major chord, piano. Straight away, got a picture here, and it tells you, okay? C, E, G is the C major chord. So if you go on Google, you'll find this out. On here, when you hover over and do not click, it tells you what the note is. So E, G. So C, E, G. If you are using a piano or a key, you want it to say C4, E4, or G4. You could probably get away with C3. Actually, you can't on this system. Some softwares are different. So you want to be on the C4. So C4, E4, G4. So then I just copy, highlight them all, left click, drag, highlight over them all, do the copy button again. Now it drags all three. So if I move this up to G, that will actually give me C major and G major, because when we play a major chord, we actually have the same hand shape for each one. The same distance, I should say, between notes for each one. Okay, so if we put that together, it sounds like this. Okay, sounds nice. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but it's really easy if you follow. So, next one is A minor. So if we do the same thing and copy all of those, and we move it up to A. Now, that is currently A major, because I've copied G major and started on A. So the distance between the notes will make it actually an A major. We want A minor. So you take the middle note and you quite simply bring it down one. That will make it a minor, okay? So originally it was saying C sharp 5. What we need to do is bring that down and it becomes C5, which makes it a minor, okay? Basically, the middle note just needs to come down one, okay? So let's listen to that. It's very common chord progression. As I say, 1, 6, 5, 4 is a lot of songs, and I'm not exaggerating. We are talking a lot of songs that you will know and love follow that chord progression, okay? So I'm going to copy this one because it's F major. If I copied this one and put A minor into F, it will be F minor, okay? So I'm going to drag and copy G major just to speed up the process and drop that into the F. Now, it's extended that a little bit. I'm just going to nudge these back and I'm just going to drag that there. So that is my 4, okay? Now, if I press play, okay? Now, sometimes there's a bit of a crackle, but that's because I think it's just Soundation. I've got a feeling that obviously due to the current climate we're in, a lot of people are probably on it, and I think it's just struggling at times to keep up. So if you get that, don't let it throw you. It will work. It's just sometimes with everyone on the internet at the minute and things like that, obviously they're dealing with a lot of people. So that's it. That's creating a chord pattern. Now, if you want to then make another chord pattern, okay, for the future, just take that pattern that you've created and use those same 4 chords. So I've used C, G, A, F, change them. So you could actually start your next section maybe with G. Then you might go to C. Then you might go to A. Then you might go to F. Play about with it, okay? There's no golden rule, okay? Depends what sounds right to you. But for today's lesson, I'm mainly focusing on how to set up with Midi. So that's pretty much the main part of Midi. So let's put some loops with it. So I found this one beforehand. For my drums, remember I said yesterday, make sure you name them, double click in that section and also get that bit done. And then there's a bass there for C. I'm going to grab that, put that here. Okay. And then I'm just going to double click here, click bass, start that playing because it's not what I want right now. Now let's put that all together. And you'll notice that actually as a loop, it works really well. Okay, if you're not sure how to get the loop, it's these little yellow lines, you fill it out and then you should get the loop when you play it. Okay, so again, nice sound. Okay, and that's it for today. That's how you create MIDI. For today, well, for this lesson, what I want you to do is just basically make it so that you're creating your own MIDI channel. Mix up those chords, okay? That's all you need to do. My family seemed to be on it today with this coffee club stuff. What can I say? But you want to make sure that you've got your MIDI channel. You want to make sure it's down here, add channel, instrument, that creates your different instruments. Play about with them all. VA and FM synth, for me, are my personal favorites. That doesn't mean I'm right, it's just that's my personal preference. Okay, a couple other things to mention. You've got here 85 BPM. Remember what I said in lesson 1. Okay, you want to make sure that your BPMs all link. And also, again, I use the C major scale. Well, chord progression, sorry, I should say, not the scale. Scrap that, the progression. Okay, that means that by using the C that's attached to the bass here, it's going to most likely be absolutely fine and it's going to work. Okay, if, for example, on this list, you chose G major and one of these over here said G, or if you chose D major and you chose the D one, then that is what it's going to be in, okay? And then it should actually open up a lot more avenues. So have a play with it. Remember, 1, 5, 6, 4 is your most common chord progression. If you use that, it will work a treat, okay? Then when you add your drum loops in, add in your other instruments, it should help you start to build up a new sound, okay? Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you later on. Cheers, see you later.